Um, Hi, Austin. My name is Chris Fletcher, and my presentation today is about ranked choice voting in Texas. I volunteer to help admin the ranked choice voting for Texas website, and I'm also a dad and robotics engineer. And so I think a lot of us are uh, know about the current voting system throughout the United States. It's the winner-take-all system. Um, I I recently read a book on the history of the ancient world, and a lot of that during a lot of that time in Egypt and Assyria and um, China is ruled kind of by warlords, and so this eventually was pretty brutal time, and over time people learned that by assembling into um, Republican or republics or democratic societies, they could become more powerful if the people who needed to be promoted were actually promoted. And so the current voting system that we have is a very precious gift. It's something that hasn't been around for a long time, but at the same time, it definitely can be improved, as I'm sure, as I feel that way anyways, and I'm sure a lot of you do. That I personally have been a little bit frustrated with the current system, and I feel like there's ways that we can make it more more equitable, and people that deserve to win can win. So this current system, the winner take all, is what most places in the United States use. It's either using a majority or plurality system. The majority system just means that you need more than 50% of the vote to win the election. And so if more than two candidates are running, that means that you may have to have more than one election to decide the winner. The plurality system, you just have one election, and whoever wins the majority, gets the most popular vote, wins that election. Some of the issues with this system, I'm sure most people are kind of familiar with. The first is typically you only see two or three, maybe three candidates in any race. Sometimes there may be someone from the Green or Libertarian Party. And there's this issue called tactical voting, where if you vote for someone who's not in the most popular running, you may essentially be throwing your vote away. And so that's kind of the dynamic there, where that leads to fewer choices. Another issue with this winner-take-all system is that a third party can spoil the election. For blatant example of this recently is the Kanye West presidential campaign. He's, I think, even said that's what he's trying to do, is to take away votes from minorities. Another issue with this system is for majority voting, the cost of runoff elections. If you need more than one election, that obviously takes a lot of time and money for everyone involved. And because of all the above reasons, this leads to, sometimes leads to low voter turnout. So maybe if we could fix some of these issues, we could make things more democratic. So here's these next slides explain the ranked choice voting system. It's an alternative to the winner-take-all system. The first step is to rank the candidates. So here we have our candidates. I chose to use some playing cards. They had faces and some different options, so it seemed good. So let's say this is our vote here. We rank our candidates in order: Queen of Hearts, King of Diamonds, and Jack of Spades. And we decided not to vote for the King of Clubs. There's 4 candidates to start out, so we only picked 3. You don't have to rank all of them. You can just rank the ones you want. The next step is to count all the votes. So this is in our hypothetical situation now. This is the votes from 8 different people. Our particular vote is this one right here, the Queen of Hearts at the bottom there. And so we count the votes here. There's eight votes total. So we just divide the number of cards in each column by 8. And one of the benefits of the system is that you don't need to have an additional runoff elections. Because you ranked candidates in order, now we can have this thing called an instant runoff, where you just remove the weakest candidate here. This is, since the King of Clubs got the least number of votes, he's out. And so that person had as their second choice, if the King of Clubs didn't get picked, it was the Queen of Hearts. So that moves to the Queen of Hearts column there. So we'll count the votes again. And well, here the weakest candidate is the Jack of Spades, so we'll remove him. And you notice before there was 2 Jack of Spades in that column, and so one person didn't have an alternate vote. So one of the artifacts of this system is that if you don't rank all the candidates, your vote can be discarded, essentially. So here the second choice was the Queen of Hearts, and now we have a majority. So the Queen of Hearts wins. So ranked choice voting is actually used in several places in the United States. It recently got passed in New York City. The entire state of Maine uses ranked choice voting for all of their elections. It's also used in several places for local elections or student groups or stuff like that. It's also used in the entire country of Australia for the last 101 years. So there's some interesting history there. You can see how it's affected Australia. Also, I think Ireland has used it for quite a long time. And there's some countries, Fiji and others, that use it today for most of their elections. Yeah, it's used in California in several cities, Minnesota, and here you can see on the map other places. So some kind of side effects of this voting system are that because you don't have runoff elections, it saves money and effort, or you don't need to have additional elections. You just have the first one. It tends to reward moderate candidates instead of polarizing candidates, because if you're a third or fourth candidate or even second, you have to convince people who may not be in your block to join your coalition. So it tends to encourage collaboration, and you can see this in the Australian elections, that they're tend to be more collaborative than other places. It also prevents spoiler candidates. You can vote for any party or candidate you want, and can ensure your vote is going to count towards that person. some of the cons, as we've seen from the example before, is that if you don't rank all the candidates, your vote can essentially be discarded. And this is a problem, if people don't want to take the time or effort to rank all the candidates, they can become disenfranchised that way. So as I mentioned before, I'm part of this group called Ranked Choice Voting for Texas. We've been around for, I think, since last year we started. We're nonpartisan, nonprofit, and consist of all volunteers. We, there's it's engineers, moms and dads are running this thing in our spare time. So let's see. Yeah, our near-term goals are to enact ranked choice voting for military and overseas voters, Texas primary elections, and school district elections. And of course, long-term, we hope to make ranked choice voting more popular throughout the United States. So if you'd like to help, you can, Nerds Unite, we can do this. Support ranked choice voting. You can visit our website, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. One really important thing is to just tell more people about ranked choice voting and read about it yourself and see what you think, if it makes sense to you. And if you feel like it's something that's important to you, then you can volunteer for a group or invite us to your organizations. Yep, that's pretty much it. Okay, thanks guys.
Great, thanks Chris. I'm sorry, I didn't interrupt. Yeah, there you go. There's all your links. I also posted your links, Chris, in the Twitch chat, so everyone has all that info. Thanks so much. That was a really interesting talk.
Cool, thanks.
We have some questions. First of all, I think many of us feel that the Electoral College is problematic, and well, we won't go into its history or why it was established, but we all know. But aside from that, can you give us just a really quick thumbnail compare of how ranked choice voting would compare to a strict popular vote, which of course we don't have in the United States?
Yeah, so with let's say if you had 3 candidates, maybe a good example is the what was it, the George Bush Ross Perot election.
I was going to bring that one up. That's another question. The Nader Bush Gore 2000.
There you go. That's a good one.
Okay, yeah, use that as your example.
Okay, so yeah, in that scenario, you have 3 very strong candidates, a strong independent candidate that I forgot what Nader took, maybe 20% of the vote or something like that. Anyways, so if that independent candidate's not strong enough to win the popular vote, or even if people are scared of voting for Nader because they think it's throwing away a vote, then you get into this scenario where you're essentially not able to vote for the independent candidate. But with ranked choice voting, you could rank all 3 candidates in your order of preference and ensure that if your first choice doesn't get picked, then at least your second or third choice will get picked in the order that you want. So it's a little more equitable.
Yeah. Are you aware of any studies that have gone back and retroactively examined the results to see, like, how would 2000 have turned out with ranked choice?
I did read somewhere that I this is someone did a study on all of the elections throughout the United States to see how prominent the spoiler effect was, and they came up with the number 1.5%. 1.5% of elections are spoiled by an independent candidate currently. So um,
Interesting. So the you're working for Ranked Choice for Texas, um, and is this really a state by state thing? Do we have to? Is that how we have to do it now in the U.S.? We have to. Each state has to change their own laws. Is that how it works?
uh, yeah, that's an interesting question. If you look at some of the recent campaigns for legislation enacted throughout the United States, it has, uh, cities actually have a lot of power. If enough cities are able to enact certain laws, then it eventually kind of pushes up to the state level and eventually the federal level. And so that's kind of the approach we're trying to use.
I
So,
see.
for example, the city of Austin has you can petition to, if you have enough people sign your petition to, I think it only takes like 20,000 votes or 20,000 petitioners right now to get an amendment added um, to the vote.
Hmm.
And so that's one possible route to kind of um, ask ask the city of Austin for certain things.
Wow. Those are really grassroots, local, bubbling up to state to federal.
Yeah.
Wow. Do you know if any one party would be more receptive to the concept of ranked choice voting?
Uh, to me, it seems like a pretty nonpartisan thing. One of the previous slides I mentioned that it
Nonpartisan approval or nonpartisan disapproval?
I have approval because of the collaborative environment it introduces. It tends to reward more moderate candidates. So that's often not an option we're given right now. Is that's what I would kind of like to see is more moderate candidates. But
Great. Yeah. Yeah. I get the sense that would be a natural result. We have one last question. It's a very interesting one. Uh, it may be hard to answer. In terms of time spent in the voting booth, is ranked choice voting more complex? Does it take longer to actually vote?
uh, yes, that's one of the downsides to ranked choice voting is it's more complex, and one of the concerns, I guess, is if people don't take the time to learn about the candidates and issues, then as I kind of mentioned before, they can become disenfranchised. But you know, it's if yeah, if people are able to take the time to do that, then we can get more representative have more representative elections.
Yeah. Uh, Anything we can do to make the democratic process more democratic.
Exactly. Yeah.
I think we're all for that.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, Chris. It's
Oh,
really been
thanks,
a great
guys.
talk.
Yeah. Thank
Appreciate
you.
having you on Nerd Night.
Oh, thank you so much.